The greatest conspiracies are open and notorious. They're not theories, but practices expressed through law and policy and systems of government, technology, finance, right? Conspirators, more often than not, they announce their intentions. They're reported all over the place. They're in our newspapers, they're bannered on the covers of magazines. We get updates on their progress, bulletined on the bottom of chyrons on news feeds, right? With so much regularity that we become inured to it.
And this is the reality, and I think everybody understands this naturally. These internal watchdog shops in government, they're great if you need to report sexual harassment. They're great if you need to report some kind of discrimination, if somebody's stealing office supplies. If you go, the entire agency of government is engaged in a conspiracy to deceive the public about the reality that we are right now working in concert across agencies to carry out a program that is in violation not only of law but the Constitution. They're not equipped to handle that, and they're not interested in investigating that. That's not why they were appointed.
This leaves us sort of unable to relate the banality of the methods of their conspiracy to the rapacity of their ambitions. They say, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And that's staggering at the time. But 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when you own nothing and are unhappy. But when you just scope out and look at the concept of these everyday conspiracies, the large, impactful conspiracies.
If someone inside of government reveals government wrongdoing at the level that threatens the reputations and certainly the electability of whether we're talking about agency heads, whether we're talking about politicians, whether in the legislature or the executive branches,
the prime interest rate has changed. A new free service has been created to host our personal files. These conspiracies order and disorder our lives, and yet they can't compete for attention with Twitter and Facebook.
Their first priority is to stop you from talking because they want to control the narrative. And this is really what this is about. When you look at all of this mass surveillance, whether we're talking about internet surveillance, whether we're talking about telephonic surveillance, whether we're talking about domestic surveillance, whether we're talking about international surveillance, you've been in the news a long time, you've seen these officials, you've interviewed these officials. They constantly tell us, this is for your safety, this is to investigate terrorists, right?
The truest conspiracies meet with the least opposition. Or to put it in a different way, conspiracy practices the proven conspiracy, the true conspiracy, such as gerrymandering or the debt industry or mass surveillance, are almost always usurped by conspiracy theories. We need to be careful because some things that are termed as conspiracy theories are in fact true. Mass surveillance, famously for the longest time, was referred to as a conspiracy theory.
But when you look from the inside as an employee at what we're doing with this, I see all the reporting, right? I've got access to all the reporting. And then you look at things that happen in the wake of scandal. For example, after I came forward, Obama, who was facing extraordinary pressure, appointed 2 independent commissions to investigate these programs because he was trying to basically justify these things and find where they were accurate, where they were useful. This was the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board and the President's Review Group on Intelligence and Communications Technologies. Both of these groups had full access to classified information. Both of them talked to all sides of the intelligence community. They went to the FBI, they went to the CIA, they went to the NSA. And they said, look, we've got the clearances. Give us your success stories. Show us where this helped. Show us where this saved lives. Show us why we should be doing this.
There is space for both. Conspiracy theory can be seen as a kind of parody. Conspiracy theory can be seen as a kind of gaming out where the public's vulnerabilities are a reflection of our fears. when I was working for the NSA, right? I was involved in this system that was intended to access and track the communications of every man, woman, and child on Earth to the maximum extent possible, and for that to happen in secret, right? Is there anything more grand and conspiratorial?
And they looked, because at the time, we had people, we had Keith Alexander, then director of the National Security Agency, going in front of Congress, going on TV, and saying, this stopped 47 plots or whatever, people are alive, buildings are up because of these programs. Well, Barack Obama's own investigations into this found that in the case of the very first program that we looked at, this was the mass surveillance of telephone records domestically, it didn't stop a single terrorist attack in more than 10 years of operation, and that's happening in secret, mind you, before it hits the front pages and all of that stuff.
And it took me a really long time to extricate myself from that. And the funny thing is, because of the manner in which I extricated myself from that, I became the subject of conspiracy theories. People say I'm a Russian agent. People say I'm a Chinese agent, right? There are conspiracies all the way down.
And in the only case, they also found, that it never made a concrete difference, and that's their words. In a single counterterrorism investigation, they actually never discovered a plot through these programs. Never, not once. What they did do is they found information related to a plot in a single case, and this was a cab driver in California, Mo Allen, I believe, wiring about $8,500 to his clan in Somalia, which was affiliated with Al-Shabaab, which was on a terrorism list according to the State Department. This was their great success story, right? And in this case, judges had, we had already had watchdogs go through it, thanks, fortunately, to Obama in this case. And now we have since had courts go at it and look at, confirm it was unlawful, and it was unnecessary. And mind you, this is with access to the classified record, because they said by the time the government had enough information to look these guys up in the NSA database, CIA, FBI, whatever, they also had enough evidence to go to a court through traditional means and get a warrant without relying on all this, right? You didn't have to collect this by violating the rights of 330 million Americans.
I do ask myself, what drives this? Where does this urge come from? Is the existence of global mass surveillance not enough for you people? Does there have to be another level to it, right? For example, the banking industry is going to war on savers, just sacrificing anybody who saved any money in order to avoid the debt collapse of all the governments that have overborrowed and all the companies that have overborrowed, and basically indentured the current growing generation, the youngest of the audience today that's watching this. Those people are intentionally, knowingly, willfully being screwed because of all of the political cowardice and poor decisions that said, we don't want to face any hardship today, so we're going to put that on the shoulders tomorrow.
When you simply could have used the old traditional means of law enforcement to get exactly the same material from exactly the same companies without breaking the law.
Often we talk about conspiracy theories in order to avoid talking about proven conspiracies, which are often too daunting, too threatening, and really too total.
Because look, let's say you, John Stossel, work at the NSA. You do the job I did in my last position. You go in every day. You've got the desk in front of you with your keyboard connected to a system called XKeyScore. This is basically Google for spies, right? It allows you to search through all of the different methods of ingestion that we have, not just domestically, but overseas through our partners in what we call second-party countries. These are these Anglophone countries and Five Eyes I mentioned earlier, as well as third-party partners. We have sensors, all over the world, some of them placed by hacking, some of them placed in data centers. And you can type anybody's phone number in, anybody's email in, any website in, any IP address for a phone or a computer, a laptop, and you can see all the traffic that has passed any of these sensors.
When you live in that kind of world, the idea that the bad guys are at a pizza parlor. You can kick in the door and flush them out, right? You just need to burn down that tower that's at the end of your block and everything will be better. That's a world that's more attractive because you have identifiable figures who are responsible for your plight. And you have the ability to sort of push them out of the way and correct things. If only you guys would come together. But the funny thing is, if we do come together, we can unwind all of these plights we face, even the extraordinary ones. But it takes focus and sustained attention on problems that are intentionally made abstract